Uncle Richard held up his wine glass and announced my salary to the entire Christmas table. Everyone laughed. My cousin said, "That's cute." My brother-in-law said, "How do you even survive?" I didn't defend myself. I didn't argue. I just pulled out my phone, and what I showed them made the whole room go silent. Some of them actually got up and left. The laughter was still echoing when I unlocked my phone. But let me tell you how we got there. Christmas dinner at my parents' house. 23 people crammed around tables that had been pushed together. The whole extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, their spouses, their kids. I'm 31 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer. Have for 6 years now. I work from home, set my own hours, choose my own clients. My family has never understood it. When are you getting a real job? That's been the question since I quit my corporate position 6 years ago. My Uncle Richard is a surgeon. Makes it known at every gathering. My brother-in-law Todd works in finance. My cousin Jennifer is a lawyer. Even my younger brother manages a car dealership. They all have titles. Offices. Business cards. Things that sound impressive at dinner parties. I have a laptop and a home office. To them, that means I'm failing. This Christmas, it came to a head. We'd just finished dinner. Everyone was in that comfortable zone between eating and dessert. Wine flowing. Conversation getting looser. Uncle Richard stood up to make a toast. "Another year," he said, raising his glass. "Another year of hard work, success, and family." Everyone raised their glasses. "I'm proud of this family," Richard continued. "Proud of what we've all accomplished. Jennifer made junior partner this year." Everyone applauded. Jennifer smiled, modest but pleased. Todd's firm just closed their biggest deal. More applause. Todd nodded, accepting congratulations. And I just want to say, it's good to see everyone doing well. Working hard. Making something of themselves. His eyes landed on me. Most of us, anyway. The table went quiet for just a second. Then someone laughed. Then someone else. "Richard," my mother said, but she was smiling too. Like it was a joke. "What?" Richard said, playing innocent. "I'm just saying, it's nice to see people with stable careers. Real jobs." "Graphic design is a real job," I said quietly. "Oh, I'm not saying it's not," Richard backtracked, but his smile said otherwise. "It's just, you know, freelance. It's not exactly secure." "Seems like a hobby to me," Todd added.
"No offense."
"None taken," I said, even though there clearly was offense. "How much do freelance designers even make?" Jennifer asked. Not meanly. Just genuinely curious. Everyone turned to look at me. I could have deflected. Changed the subject. Made a joke. But I'd had 3 glasses of wine and I was tired of this dynamic. "Last year I made about 70,000, I said. The table went silent again. But this time, the silence was different. 70,000. Richard repeated. That's not bad for freelance work." "It's not Wall Street money," Todd said with a smirk. "But it's decent." "How many hours do you work?" Jennifer asked. 20 to 30 a week. Depends on the projects." "That's part-time," Richard said. "So really, if you worked full-time hours, you'd be making what? 80? 90? "Maybe," I said. "See, that's the problem with freelancing," Todd jumped in. "No benefits.
No retirement.
No security. You're basically living paycheck to paycheck." "I'm not living paycheck to paycheck." "But you don't have a 401k, Jennifer said. Right? No employer match.
No pensión.
I have retirement accounts." "Like what?" "A savings account." Richard laughed. "That's not the same as a real retirement plan." I could see where this was going. They'd decided I was struggling. That I was one client away from poverty. That my lifestyle was unsustainable. My mother tried to intervene. "Can we maybe talk about something else?" "We are just having a conversation," Richard said. "Nothing wrong with giving advice to family." "I don't need advice." "Everyone needs advice," Todd said. especially when they're making $70,000 in their 30s with no benefits and no security. It's cute that you're following your passion, Jennifer added. But at some point, you have to think about your future. My future is fine. Is it though? Richard leaned forward. What happens when you get sick? What happens when clients dry up? What happens when you're 50 and still hustling for freelance work? The whole table was watching now, waiting for my answer. I put down my fork. You want to know about my future? I asked calmly. We are just concerned, my mother said. Don't be. 70,000 is nothing to be ashamed of, Richard said, in that tone people use when they're absolutely implying you should be ashamed. But let's be realistic. It's not exactly thriving. How do you even afford rent? Todd asked. In this market. I don't pay rent. You live with roommates? Jennifer asked. I own my place. That got their attention. You own? Richard's eyebrows went up. Like, you bought a condo. A house. You bought a house on $70,000 a year. I bought it 3 years ago. Paid cash. The table went completely silent. Cash. Todd repeated. You're saying you paid cash for a house. Richard's tone had changed. Less condescending. More confused. Yes. How? Jennifer asked. 70,000 a year doesn't. I didn't say I make 70,000 a year. Everyone leaned in slightly. You just said, Richard started. I said last year I made about 70,000 from graphic design work. That's my freelance income. From clients. So what else do you do? Todd asked. This was the moment. I pulled out my phone, opened my investment app, pulled up my portfolio summary. I also invest, I said simply. I turned the phone around so the people closest could see the screen. Todd leaned forward. His eyes widened. What is that? Jennifer asked. That's his portfolio, Todd said, and his voice had gone quiet. How much is? Richard trailed off, squinting at the screen. The number at the top was clear. $2,847,392. For a moment, nobody said anything. That's almost $3 million, Jennifer said. 2.8, I corrected. It fluctuates. How? Richard's voice had lost all its authority. How do you have almost $3 million? I started investing when I was 23. Put in 15% of everything I made. When I quit my corporate job 6 years ago, I had about $200,000 saved. I took half of it and bought index funds. The other half I put into a few startup investments. Which startups? Todd asked. He'd fully abandoned his condescending tone. I listed 3 companies. One had gone public 2 years ago. One had been acquired. One was still private but valued at 8 times my initial investment. You're telling me you turned $100,000 into almost $3 million in 6 years? Richard asked. Plus the index funds. Plus I kept contributing. Plus I bought my house in cash so I have no mortgage. Plus I still make $70,000 a year from design work that takes me less than 30 hours a week. Nobody knew what to say. So when you said you don't need benefits? Jennifer started. I pay for my own healthcare. I max out my Roth IRA every year. I have more in retirement accounts than most people my age will have at 60. Why didn't you say anything? My mother asked. Why let everyone think? Think what? That I'm struggling? That I'm irresponsible? I looked around the table. Because that's what you all assumed. You assumed that because I work from home and don't have a corporate title, I must be failing. We were just concerned, Richard said weakly. You weren't concerned. You were judging. There's a difference. I mean, you have to admit, Todd tried. It's unusual. Most freelancers aren't. Millionaires. I finished. You're right. Most people aren't millionaires, period. But you assumed I was poor because my job doesn't look like yours. The table was still silent. I live exactly the life I want, I continued. I work 25 hours a week on projects I choose. I travel whenever I want. I have no debt. I have more financial security than most people will ever have. And I did it by ignoring advice from people who think success only looks one way. I stood up. Excuse me. I'm going to get some air. I walked outside onto the back porch. It was cold. Quiet. I could hear muffled voices from inside. 5 minutes later, my mother came out. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. Because it shouldn't matter. You're my family. You should respect what I do because I'm happy and healthy and supporting myself, not because I can show you a number on a screen. You're right, she said quietly. I'm sorry. Is everyone freaking out in there? Richard looks like he's been slapped. Jennifer keeps asking Todd if you're lying. Your father is just laughing. I smiled despite myself. They're embarrassed, my mother continued. They should be. They were awful to you. They were. Are you coming back in? In a minute. She went back inside. I stood there for a few more minutes, looking at the cold night sky. When I walked back in, the energy in the room had completely shifted. Richard wouldn't meet my eyes. Todd was suddenly very interested in his phone. Jennifer was quiet. My father raised his glass to me as I sat down. Proud of you, son. Thanks, Dad. Dessert was awkward. People tried to make small talk, tried to pretend the last hour hadn't happened. But it had. As people started leaving, Richard pulled me aside. I owe you an apology, he said. What I said was inappropriate. It was. I didn't know. I assumed. I know what you assumed. That's the problem. He nodded. For what it's worth, what you've built is impressive. Really impressive. Thanks. Maybe sometime you could give me some investment advice? I've been thinking about diversifying. I don't give investment advice to family, I said. Conflicts of interest. He looked embarrassed. Right. Of course. Todd tried a similar approach on his way out. So did Jennifer. I was polite but firm. I wasn't interested in being their sudden financial guru now that they knew I had money. When everyone was gone, I helped my parents clean up. That was quite a night, my father said. It was. You could have told them sooner. Saved yourself some grief. Maybe. But then I wouldn't have known what they really thought of me. He nodded. Fair point. Besides, I added, watching Richard's face when I showed him that portfolio, worth 6 years of condescension. My father laughed.
You bet.
That was 3 months ago. Things have been different since then. Richard doesn't make comments about real jobs anymore. Todd doesn't give me financial advice I didn't ask for. Jennifer doesn't suggest I need to think about my future. Some family members asked for investment tips. I politely declined. Some got offended that I wouldn't help them get rich too. But here's what I learned. People will judge you based on what they can see. Your title. Your office. Your salary. They'll assume that if your success doesn't look like theirs, it must not be success at all. And you can spend your energy trying to prove yourself to people who've already decided you're failing. Or you can just keep building. Keep working. Keep making choices that align with your goals, not their expectations. I stayed silent through years of comments and concerns and condescension. Not because I couldn't defend myself, but because I knew something they didn't. Success doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to compound. They mocked my salary at Christmas. I stayed silent. Then I showed them my portfolio. And the look on their faces? Worth more than the $2.8 million. Because money is great. But proving that you knew what you were doing all along, that's priceless. I don't need their approval anymore. I never did. But it's nice to know they finally understand that the person they were pitying was doing better than all of them combined. Not because I got lucky. Because I made different choices. And those choices compounded into something they never saw coming. That's the best revenge. Not destroying people. Just quietly building something so undeniable that when you finally show it, they have nothing left to say.